trigger happy and I give less than a fuck. Love me or hate me, I'ma show enough, rip shit up. It's Mr. Nothing, nice on a mic stand. Mic in the left and the zest in my right hand. I took a puff, had enough now, hold up. If that was Indo, niggas getting rolled up.
What's going on, folks? This is Acid Roots. I'm going to talk to you guys about Jelly Roll and his late 2021 album, Ballads of the Broken. Now, this is a fairly popular album in recent times, and it has a #1 rock single on it called Dead Man Walking. But a little bit of backdrop about Jelly Roll is the fact that he has paired up with rappers like Lil White and Haystack a couple times, done some collaboration albums with them. He had a popular mixtape called Whiskey, Weed, and Waffle House, but had to wind up changing the name because Waffle House threatened to sue and they gave him a cease and desist. So if you're looking to find that mixtape, it's called Whiskey, Weed, and Women. And but yeah, so Jelly Roll's done a number of stuff. He's had albums throughout the 2010s, and basically he's kind of had a steady stream of growing popularity. And he kind of has like a cult popularity right now, kind of growing, but especially with these last two albums that he dropped. Like, he dropped an album in late 2020 called Self Medicated, had a popular single that got a gold certification called Save Me, and with the popularity of that, he came back a year later with a couple of hits. This is a relatively short project, Ballads of the Broken, and it's not really a rap album. Despite the fact that he came up and has based most of his music previously in rap. But it kind of has blends of country, a big portion of country, and a very small tinge of rock thrown in. So it's kind of interesting to kind of get some of that. But if you're going to walk in thinking it's the Jelly Roll that teamed up with Lil White on songs like Pop Another Pill and that type stuff, no, there's nothing like that to be found. So it's true to the title, where it talks about basically Ballads of the Broken, which the main theme of this project is how glum and kind of subdued that Jelly Roll is kind of on this project. And that's kind of the thing about it. There's no real pep to his step, no real bounce or anything like that. It's mostly just kind of not necessarily sobering, but just kind of graveled and kind of abridged tales of like the saga of like what goes along with too much Percocets, liquor, and failed romances. And that's kind of the concept of what happens. I mean, really, Jelly Roll has a compelling personality just because he's not shy about his drug abuse. And, you know, he kind of reminds me of Kid Rock and a little bit of, there's another, like MGK is another one. Some of these white rappers that get into rock, they kind of are not shy about their drug use. Like, you know, you think of a band like Godsmack or Deftones or Limp Bizkit or some of them, Linkin Park even. They don't really glorify like that type of stuff, but Jelly Roll flagrantly conveys that he is getting fucked up most of the time. And it's interesting. You look at that concept, but it also comes with a lot of sombering and kind of just overall glum atmosphere. So it's just something to know going in. But surprisingly, to talk about the singles, there were 2 of them, maybe 3. I think Sober might have been a single, but Wikipedia doesn't list it as such. But the first single was Dead Man Walking, and this was basically a rock song, the only real rock song on this album. And yeah, I would have to say it's pretty stellar. I mean, I definitely see as to why it hit #1 on the rock charts, at least on the U.S. main rock charts. It's definitely great. It's not quite riff heavy, but it just kind of has like a nice drum pattern in the verses where Jelly Roll just kind of conveys that he's, you know, doomed and that type stuff. I really feel like this is the peppiest song that you're going to get on this project, where it's kind of cavalier about not giving a fuck that he's not doing well. It's kind of a surprising and unabashed kind of ode to that, and, you know, even within the title, Dead Man Walking, so you kind of get the concept of like, yeah, I mean, and that's just really it's just a partialness about it, as it's kind of the thing as to how I wish that there would have been more songs like this on this project, because it just had so much spark and spunk and charisma that it's unfortunate that there's just really not any other type. I mean, it's not like I wanted a copy of this song, but just something kind of within the context of like another mood that could have been created that had that same ambience that he showed here, because that's kind of the situation. This is good. The chorus is great. The production on here is great. The drum pattern in the verses and just his overall lyrics and attitude really convey really well. And the next single is Son of a Sinner. This was on the country rock charts. Now, I really wasn't a fan of this song. It's really kind of heavy on the country, where I think like Jelly Roll is trying to cross over into like Tim McGraw and some of those like Jason Aldean territory, that type stuff. And I would have to say it's not so much that that's a problem, because Jelly Roll has been for a while now country rap in a lot of ways, kind of like Haystack and stuff. But I kind of feel like it needs to kind of be a blend. I don't know full blown if like that's the concept, that he just goes from just 2 or 3 albums ago being a rapper to just full blown making the shot for country, and all of a sudden Jelly Roll's a country artist. I mean, he pulled off doing rock just because it's kind of a hazy, kind of what MGK type did, where he kind of conveyed that maybe on his Save Me. I haven't heard Save Me from Self Medicated, but it seemed like he was kind of aiming for that back in 2020 also. But really, to go to country here, it just didn't quite have the same drop as far as something that worked as well. But the thing about this album is it does it a number of times. So if you try to pick up this project because you heard Dead Man Walking on rock radio and you think, oh, well, I bet there'll be like 3 or 4 more songs like this. No, there's not. So there's only 10 songs on here, 8 of which are really only true songs. 2 of them, the other 2 songs out of 10 are demos. So there's nothing. Just to be blatant, there is nothing like Dead Man Walking again. But there is a lot of kind of hazy and kind of depressed and just kind of overcast country music that really has like some real kind of just somber and kind of overcast and cloudy kind of productions that you would just kind of sip a beer on like a Friday or Thursday evening at like 4 or 6 or 7 p.m., something like that, when the sky is orange or pink or something. That's the virtual context of some of those, like Backslide and Over You and Empty House really have that kind of vibe of just an kind of overcast, kind of haziness to them. I mean, like I said, the overt theme on this project is just when he says Ballads of the Broken, a lot of these just convey like a certain kind of just funk in a lot of ways. And that's just kind of the concept. I mean, the spunk of Dead Man Walking is just not there, but I kind of look after it. His attitude is the least compelling just because he's not necessarily like, a happy-go-lucky individual. So Jelly Roll has that to him where he's open about saying, he's really not in the peppiest of moods. But the thing about it is, you wonder, even when he's getting like the liquor and drugs and women and stuff like that he gets, it seems like even that's not enough to really compel him for very long. So it's just and it kind of makes me wonder about what would have happened if there would have been moments where the enjoyment on this would have had more of like a kind of like a not so much reluctant, but more in like an eagerness or something of that magnitude, something to kind of say like, I'm looking forward to this, I want to do this sort of stuff. But I also feel like Jelly Roll kind of has like limited kind of things to really go by, apart from like the struggle, getting fucked up, woes, relationship woes, and just kind of not caring at times. And I think that's just kind of some of the concepts that go along with it. But for what it's worth, I feel like this project was just a little bit too short. I mean, really, Jelly Roll usually has more to say on his albums when he raps. So I think it was just kind of like a kind of step forward, just kind of, I don't want to say baby steps, but just something that was just kind of trepid almost, and like wondering what to do with it. And I feel like that, in combination with the fact that a lot of this is country and kind of like a hazy kind of like Jason Aldean type country in a lot of ways, it kind of makes you wonder where this is good stuff. I encourage this because it's new, for one thing, it's original, and it does it well. It's a good mixture, but kind of think the concept behind it is it's still like it just it's like when you make like biscuits or something, but you only make like three of them. If you try like a new kind of recipe, but you only make three biscuits, and but it's like a good recipe and you don't know how to do it anymore. I kind of think that that's like the concept. So I mean, I think Jelly Roll could probably do this again, but the magic he had on Dead Man Walking is just not anywhere else to be found. And really, I just cannot seem to find like any other single or song on this project that could come close to Dead Man Walking, which essentially years from now is going to kind of make him a one-hit wonder in the rock charts. And that's kind of the concept there. But the closest, I'm trying to think of what my second favorite song was. I'm not going to say I write this album off as ass and just not good, but I definitely feel like the main thing about it is it's pretty much like, I mean, it's one of those albums where the best song is the song that you hear on the radio and there's no avoiding it. But so yeah, I guess with that I'll just get into the songs I recommend to you. I think that's fair enough for like the review and such. But so out of 10 songs, if you count the two demos, I wound up liking 6. So I'll go ahead and list them for you. So Dead Man Walking, Sober, Empty House, Hollow, Over You, and Backslide. Now, every one of these 5 songs, besides Dead Man Walking, kind of has that kind of ambient and kind of distant country about it. Just all of them do. I mean, really, every single one of them, with the exception of Hollow, kind of has that kind of down tempo or mid tempo, just kind of dissonant country type feel. Just kind of in like something that you would hear at some country bar or something like that, where you deal with that sort of stuff. It just is, a lot of this feels like you would hear it just right at a country bar or some sort of motorcycle bar, something like that on the outskirts, some one of those type places, a saloon, that type stuff. But so I would have to say Hollow is kind of different just because that's about the only other mid-tempo song, anything that really paces up the tempo. Dead Man Walking is basically an up-tempo song, but then Hollow is the second closest. But to me, it kind of felt like a gap between mid-tempo and up-tempo. That's the only other thing that comes close, but even Hollow is not really a rock song. So there's really nothing. I don't feel like it's fair to call this album a rock album because it's really not. It's more of like a country rap / country rock with a very light tinge of rock. So that's kind of the concept there. But yeah, I mean, I like all of these. The singing's great. I felt like Sober is a really kind of, Sober really has like that. I mean, a lot of these pack the emotions in them, but the thing with Sober is it's just glum. I mean, if you like glum songs, if you like that kind of melancholy type feel, you'll get a lot of melancholy here, but it doesn't have a lot of spark in terms of like social moments and club settings and just outgoing weekend Friday night type stuff. It's just kind of more in like a country bar type setting where you're just getting beers and trying to go mac on some country babe at the at the bar table or something. But that's just kind of the thing about it. So I'm going to give this album a 6.5 out of 10. I feel like there's enough on here that I would like, but unfortunately, the only real song I would listen to with any immediacy would just be Dead Man Walking. Despite the fact that I like 5 other songs on here, me liking 6 out of 10. I feel like a lot of these are just personal choice and not necessarily something that have popularity. Like, this is a real off to the side album. This doesn't even have a Wikipedia article, and there's just not much to talk about on it. But I feel like a lot of this is just personal choice, and it seems like it would be kind of tough to convey like interest of this album to others in terms of convincing them that this is not just, purely, opinionated. And that's just kind of the thing. I mean, Dead Man Walking has the ability to do it, but there's just not enough on here to really popularize this project. And that's kind of the thing. I feel like the social score is only going to get like a 2 out of 10 just because it just doesn't have enough oomph in it. And really the country kind of tinge, for fans of Jelly Roll beforehand who are used to his rap and with him with Lil White and Haystack and some of them, it's almost off-putting. But he does country rap pretty well when he's just kind of, when I mean, the country sometimes works, but I really felt like it didn't on Son of a Sinner. So that's just kind of the concept. But yeah, so 6.5 out of 10. This is relatively recent. This came out in the fall of 2021. So there you have it. Some good new stuff from Jelly Roll, where it shows signs of promise. Definitely has a lot of ambience towards it. To where I think if he could do more songs like Dead Man Walking, he'd really have he'd be a force more to be reckoned with.